Welcome to the Sacred Window podcast. I'm your host, Christine Devlin Eck. Here at the Center for Sacred Window Studies, we explore and expand on conscious postpartum care. We navigate the overlap of caring for others and caring for ourselves. We honor the transitions, not only in giving birth, but in being alive. Welcome to the conversation.
And I will never be the same again.
Hello, welcome. My name is Christine Eck, and I'm so happy to be here on the Sacred Window podcast with a dear person who has come into our community in the last year, and I'm so happy to welcome her. Joanne McIntosh is a mom to 2 children. She lives in Newcastle, Australia. She's close to the ocean and to nature, which are 2 of her very favorite places. She is a postpartum doula and a massage therapist, and she loves supporting women in their journey through this sacred postpartum window. Joanne's passion in life is to bring the sacred into the everyday, which I think is one reason why I really resonate with you, Joanne, because I think that that is such a part of this whole journey for me as well. Joanne's studies have been focused on energetic medicine, anthroposophical nursing and education. I hope I said that right. Yoga, Reiki, and Bach flower essences, and now Ayurveda as well. Joanne really honors stillness and reverence and that holding of space that we do for other people through bodywork, yoga, breath work, guiding families to find their pace, their rhythm, and their transition through this most beautiful window of time. So, Joanne, I want to thank you for being here with me. And we really felt drawn in this conversation to look at the synchronicities of needs for the doula as the caregiver role and the new parent as the caregiver role. And oftentimes, I think we find in the doula profession that people become really tired and overstretched and burnt out, and the role in itself can become unsustainable. So I think as an organization who's working really hard to create a robust field for postpartum care, it's really important that we talk about what those synchronistic needs are for doula and new parent, and how can we find that and create that so that we as the caregiver can really help families make this sustainable transition while we feel really held and cared for and supported at the same time. And I know that there's a lot of levels to that, but through listening to Joanne and her story, I think that we're going to have a really beautiful picture of one way that that can be done. So Joanne, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Christine. It's really nice to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course, of course. So, I think, again, just knowing you and your path, it really is so, so similar to a lot of the ways that I have felt in entering into this work. What was that moment for you when you realized that this was a role that you could hold for families?
Well, it's been really interesting, actually. I've been pondering that the last few weeks and just looking at my journey through life, even, from birth. And so when I was born, I had quite a traumatic birth and my legs were twisted quite badly. And so I think at that point, my mum didn't have any support, and she was bringing me to the hospital every day for my legs to be bandaged up because they were so badly twisted that they used to tape them together so they could sort of be bent back the other way, sort of thing. And she was going to the hospital on her own and watching her baby in absolute so much pain, but couldn't do anything about it and felt very unsupported at this point. And I can remember growing up always feeling very disconnected from my legs. I think energetically I had sort of, come out of the body and come out of that part of myself. And so I feel like that moment and that experience as a baby led me to go into the healing profession, because I was always searching for that part of myself that I was disconnected to. So that was one sort of thread that I've been thinking about, that has been sort of like a crucial moment that made me go into the healing arts. And the other thing was, when I was young, I had my mum had two babies die after me. One was from a cot death and one was a stillborn, and again had no support. And I know that she just had to get on with things and, not really feel her grief and sadness over those passings, and had no one around her. She was, she'd come from Hong Kong to Australia and didn't really have a network of people around her, and didn't find the support with the medical profession or the church or things like that. So she was just really left to her own devices at that point. So I feel like they're two key points in my biography that have really led me to wanting to help women at that really, really sacred time in their lives, because I feel like, if there are problems or there is a traumatic birth, that if it's dealt with back then, the effects on the baby and on the mother is so, minimized. And then, I feel like it's taken me till I'm 50 now. And I feel like I'm just starting my life, because I feel like my whole life I've been looking for those missing parts that have kept me back from being a full human being and able to really work with my whole body, rather than having parts of me that that have been cut off and not working. That's my inner feeling. Probably people from the outside would think, oh, you're totally normal, but that has been my inner feeling of the energetics of my body. So, and then I think once I had my children, and I didn't feel totally supported in my postpartum either, and maybe that has come from those young times where I sort of got on with things as well as a young 2-year-old, and just went, okay, you just push through and you're okay. And if you talk to my parents and my sisters, they'll always say, oh, Joanne's always all right through everything. She can push through and she can be okay. But I think that's just what I did then. So I never learnt to express actually what's going on for me. So it's been a really big journey to get to my postpartum, and then probably didn't ask for help and soldiered on, and then went, you know what, I don't need to do this. I need to be able to ask for help and have support around me, and it doesn't show that I'm weak or that I can't do it, but I actually want support and have the connection with people to feel like I don't have to do it on my own. And, I think those sort of triggers after my babies sort of made me think, oh, look, I'd love to be able to give women what I didn't have in those two situations. And as I say, all my life I've been into the healing arts and things. So I love making the everyday really sacred. So I feel like I go into the women's homes and just put a little bit of magic in there. They've had a hard night with Bub being up all night, and we just sit and, do some breath work or some meditation, and it just changes the way they feel, and they go, oh, okay, I can do this. And there is a higher purpose to what I'm doing. It's not just settling my baby. It's something else. And, I really I feel really blessed that even though I feel like my journey up until now was quite difficult, I feel like I'm really able, because of the experience of having that, like, to be able to give it to women, because I've experienced it myself. And, I understand what they're going through, and the feelings of loneliness and isolation that can come with feeling like that you have to do it all alone. So, there's a thread through the whole journey that I sometimes look back at and think, oh, wow, why was I doing this and why was I doing that? All the travel that I did and nannying and then education and all those things. And now I look at it and go, oh, wow, because this is the package I have to offer women. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, there's so much there that really points and reaffirms to how unique this work and this portal of birth, this thread that is woven between our own births, our mother's experiences, our grandmother's experiences, and how there's like this almost like healing and redemption that can happen when we move into this field and we start to be able to sort of like change the way that our body interprets different things that have happened to us based on new decisions that we start to make in caring for ourselves and others. And it's so fascinating. Um, yeah, you mentioned, your family would look at you and say, "Oh, Joanne's always okay. She's always okay." And that really struck me because I think that is the case for a lot of us. Like we shine it on and we put on a really strong face, and we probably even are totally fine in a way, but it doesn't have to be that like rudimentary, I'm fine, meaning I can get by here. I think that is like the crux of the shift that we're trying to shift here. It's like, um, how can we actually be really, really, really nourished rather than I can get by, I can do this today.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I think the more that I do work with yoga and things like that, I think it's really great to feel those feelings and then let them go, because otherwise they sort of sit in your body and then they have to be brought up at some time. As I say, I really enjoy body work. And so, when I was sort of around 26, I started doing massage and body work with people. And when I'd put my hands on someone, I would often get old memories come to the surface of, feelings and pictures and sensations in my own body of things the person hadn't let go of. And so now when I work with my clients, I always do some body work with them. And often things come up that they would have no recollection of. It's, sitting there in the subconscious, still in the tissues of the body. And, it gets brought up for them and they have a big release, and then it's like then they can move on. And I think maybe Julia was talking about it in our class or something like that, but that connection to the divine, when you have all these old repressed emotions and things like that in your body, it's very clouded. And so I really enjoy that with the women, that they can, with my care, and that I can intuit where they are on any given day, that they can have that release. And so then that trauma doesn't stay in their body to have to come up 10 years later. I think it's so fascinating that we can hold those things like deep down in the tissues of our body, and um, they just get stuck there. So yeah, it's a really fascinating thing to be able to sit with someone and help them just, allow their feelings to come out so they can express, and rather than repress anything.
The postpartum window is such a subtle time, and there's so many energetics. I mean, just humanity in general. Let's just acknowledge that, like, the postpartum window is this very like concentrated, like microcosm of really the whole human experience. I look at it like that, and I think that particularly when we're working with people in a time of massive transition, it's like the tools that help move the energy are so much better received than at any normal time. Like, you could an Ayurvedic, ideal daily routine, or, monthly routine, or seasonal, whatever. Like an oil massage is a really important part of it. And I encourage everyone to do that at all times. But there's something about having that postpartum Abhyanga, that oil massage or that body work or whatever during that window, that it's just like opening a door for the feelings, the memories, the events that have happened to that person start to integrate. It's just so easeful, and how
Yeah.
it will automatically happen if we just allow them the space and the conditions for it to happen. Um, yeah, I would love to hear a little bit about your personal reflections doing, you know, postpartum body work for people, versus any other time.
Exactly what you say. I think I do a much more gentle approach, because I feel like, they are in a much more heightened, sensitive, intuitive state. Um, but yeah, so I'd approach it, much more gently, and the actual depth of the massage is much lighter, because we're working much more on the etheric level, like on a, with the ether and the air element. And so, but I feel like in that way, the depth of it is much deeper, like on a spiritual level, because they're bringing up things out of their body that have been stuck there for a long time. And I think that's the thing, we get the birth that we're supposed to get for where we are at any moment. And there's medicine in that birth. And so, that postpartum time, very gently, I sort of just help them through the body work to uncover and to bring to consciousness things that they can change. And I think you're so right that it just happens naturally. If they're open to it and they give themselves the space to be at home and to be quiet and to be connecting with their baby. I think our babies are here to bring that up for us as well. So, that whole potent time of just allowing things to naturally change can really help. It changes our whole lives. And, the last few women that I've been supporting have been, very big into their spiritual lives, and the change in 6 weeks, and they've all have said that is like, wow, I feel like I've done healing that I've been trying to do for 10 years in 6 weeks, and it's such a magical time to support people through that. You know, and just knowing someone's there watching and observing and witnessing that journey, I think, is the really important thing, like a birth doula, witnessing the birth, but having someone there to sort of guide you through the stages if you need any help. And most women do know what they need to do on their own, but just to have someone there that they can check in with and go, oh, wow, this has come up, this is how I'm feeling. And just to get that reassurance that it's okay. It's okay, and these things are all normal and natural, and tomorrow's going to be another day, and to let that be expressed rather than holding it in, whatever feeling it is. If you need to be angry, go and be angry. It's okay. You don't have to hold those emotions down and have them there for another 10 years, sort of thing. Yeah.
Right, right. And you said it, so perfectly. It's during the postpartum window, we're dealing with ether and air, like the most subtle of elements. And so I think many of us who are in this profession have a good amount of tapped in connection with our vata dosha, our ether and our air elements. And I think that creates, this ability to be really connected energetically with our clients and how they're feeling. And yet sometimes, and I've heard and connected with lots of caregivers on this, because we have such a tuned in connection with those subtle elements, we very easily can start to take on a lot of the energetics that are happening in the caregiver's home. And I think, and it's interesting because in Ayurveda, we talk, we all have our own constitutions and the doshas. So, very high vata people who are caregivers, I find, are more susceptible to getting overwhelmed from, being so empathic, so wide open energetically, and taking in, what their clients are naturally holding in this really sensitive time. So I think it's really interesting in talking about sustainability for caregivers is how we as caregivers, and this is what we're trying to do for our clients, is help support this balancing of that super subtle state of being with something that's more earthy, something that's more fluid, something that's heavier, more grounded. So I think this is a really actually beautiful entrance into talking about sustainability and that synchronicity of experience for the doula and the new parent, um, by looking at the idea of being grounded and feeling grounded, how that for us in the caregiver role, how that for a new parent can help balance out some of that really high, subtle qualities that are there on purpose. It's supposed to be like that. But yeah, do you feel, I mean, I get a sense from you that you are a very grounded person, that you have like a sense that you love nature, you love, the going to the ocean, like you have, which is probably, Joanne, why your family is always like, Joanne is good. She is solid, because you have some really good, I can feel it when the times that we've talked with one another. So I'm curious what your thoughts are about that, and how your experience as, a person with your constitution, and how that has affected your ability to work with families and not sort of take on too much.
I think I've learned over the years of how I need to sort of empty myself out, I would say. And I do go and spend a lot of time in nature on my own, and, just be with nature and be with trees and plants and things like that, because I feel like I need a lot of stillness and a lot of quiet. So, it's a dynamic thing that's always a work in progress. And, I'll come to points that I go, oh, all too much. I have to, just have a quiet day. And I think, working out your working week as well. Like today, I have a free day. I say it's a free day, but a day without clients. So, making sure I have a day a week without clients, that I can do an hour yoga practice. I can go for a walk in nature. I can connect with friends or family. And so that has really helped me ground back into myself. Go for a swim in the ocean, and I feel like it washes everything away. I do a little ceremony or a little ritual before I go to a client's house and when I leave, so that whatever I have experienced there, I give it back to them, and let it come out of my body and sort of separate from it. Also having a great network. I work very closely with another friend who is a birth doula, and we debrief all the time. We're always talking. She does a lot of births, so she sort of debriefs her births, and we've ended up making sort of a package that we offer women together, that she will do the birth. I do pregnancy massages through that birth preparation time. And then I will take over the postpartum. So we know these women really well, both of us, and we can debrief what's going on for them. She'll give me ideas of what's happened with the birth, and then I'll pass back ideas of, what's happening in their postpartum. And I feel like the support that we have together has been a crucial thing for me to be able to ground myself, and also for the women to feel like there's an extra layer of support. It's not just me supporting them. There's my friend Sarah supporting them, and then, the rest of the community behind us, because now that we've been doing this together for a few years, we've really made a community of, we know a lot of midwives, chiropractors, naturopaths, alternative health practitioners, women health physio, like all that's so that we know, if things come up that are beyond our scope of practice, we can refer on, and it makes you feel like you do have that support around you, that you're not just doing it by yourself. And the women feel, I think, so much more supported because they know that there's all this experience around them that, you know, if myself as the doula can't, you know, work out the problem with the baby's tongue tie or something like that, then there's someone that they've usually already met because they're in our circle. So it's like a big group of women supporting these postpartum women, even if they're not involved totally, they can feel that network around them. And so it's a really beautiful thing that we sort of developed. So we do women's circles and things like that so the women can meet these practitioners before they need them. And I think, you know, for a woman in that first 6 weeks, having to call on someone that they don't know can be a really big thing. But if they've done some breastfeeding training before birth with the lactation consultant, it's easy to go, oh, I'll ring up Emma, it's fine. I don't, you know, they don't feel worried about doing that sort of thing. So it's been a really beautiful journey for all the practitioners around us to get together and to meet these women and to know that, you know, they're just a phone call away. So it's not a big deal. Yeah.
This is, you know, the aspect of your work that really stuck out to me right away when I first met you, Joanne, because it's what I have people do as their project in my module of the program, which is to create your network, like get connected, find out who is in your area, who's practicing, who are the birth doulas that we can partner with, who are the lactation consultants, who is this whole support web that we're not going to fall through. You know, we as the doula should not be the only person that is there, that is, you know, the one who's supposed to have all of the answers. That's a lot of pressure for one caregiver. And just as we would never want a new parent to be by themselves with, you know, nobody there to help them, you know, which is what, you know, our mothers, many of them went through, which is why so many of us come into this work, because we see that there has to be a better way. Um, so I feel this deep synchronicity between the experience of what we want for a new mom, for a new parent, and what we want for ourselves as the caregiver in this role. And what you have created to me is so beautifully ideal that everything becomes easier. You have, you know, this birth doula, you have this network of people. So your role is in this, you know, bodywork, postpartum care. You know, I know you do some births as well, but everybody is working in their area and able to really facilitate clients coming your way. That's one benefit of, you know, you meet people and they feel really good about the energy you've created in this supportive network. But also that you know that you don't have to have all the answers.
Yeah.
You have somebody that's in this area, in this area, in this area. And that changes your whole experience of being able to give without feeling like you don't have enough to give. That's what I
Yes,
sense. Yeah, I'm
absolutely.
curious if
Yeah,
that's how it feels.
absolutely, it does. And you know, I think at first I was a birth doula and a postpartum doula, and I found there's just too much. It's too much to know everything about birth and know everything about postpartum. And I found that so challenging that I just went, you know what, just really think about what you really love doing. And for me, it's touch. You know, I love touching women and giving them nurturing care through touch and body work, and the cooking as well. So I just was like, okay, let's just go into the postpartum. And since I made that shift, I feel that it wasn't stretching me too far. I really felt too stretched. And now I feel like I can focus. And I feel like the focus has helped me really hone in on those skills that I love doing, you know, rather than trying to be everything to someone, you know, hone on those skills that I really enjoy and develop those. rather than trying to be everything. So yeah, it's been and that's only been probably the last 2 years that I've just honed in on those, and I do feel a lot more settled in my work and able to not feel overwhelmed by it. Yeah.
How did you start building your support network as a birth professional?
I moved to Newcastle 4 years ago, or about probably nearly 5 years ago now, and I'd been a birth doula in the Blue Mountains for a while, but had only done a handful of births, and then moved, and then I became sort of involved in a birth movement here, and I think that sort of started the networking because I volunteered there, and women can come to the birth movement and just have free doula chats. And we sort of did a few things like, just little, so have like 5 doulas around one woman. And then she could pick the one that she resonated with the most for her birth, but she knew she had the support of the other 4 if that woman wasn't available on the birthday. Because we were finding that, I have young children and I didn't have my partner here at the time. He was still back in the Blue Mountains. So it was tricky for me to do births when I didn't have that support. But doing this doula sort of community around a woman helped, that if my partner was here and she went into labour, I could still be present for births. And I think that sort of started just getting, me out in the community and talking to people. And that birth movement was quite, they were quite vigorous in doing different events like, kids expos and other sort of fundraising things that I got to know quite a lot of doulas and midwives and, people just involved with birth. And then I think last year we did a magazine. So there's a baby magazine called the Newcastle Baby, and it was just everything about birth and babies and early childhood. So anyone who wanted to advertise in there could put an ad in, and then we all came together for the opening of the magazine, and then we got to know each other through that as well. And I think because I'm into, healing and things, like I'd go and see practitioners and then we'd start doing swaps, and then they'd start sending pregnant women my way and I'd start sending pregnant women their way. And so it sort of was very organic, and I didn't really set out to set anything up. It just sort of really happened. I think I really love people, and I love talking to people, and I love talking about people's journeys and how they've gotten to where they are. So I think just that in itself, I'd go and just chat to people and then go, oh, wow, you do this with pregnant women. That's great. I do this. And, maybe if I have a client that I can't shift something, then I can send them to you and vice versa. And it just really happened organically. Yeah.
That's beautiful. It's so actually enjoyable and fun to organically build your community like that. And I think it's something that I think about as, being able to receive the care yourself, whether you go out and get body work done or you have a craniosacral therapy session or something, and we connect personally with people who we really resonate with, and those are great people to begin collaborating with in this way, because at the heart of it, everybody is so happy to see their clients get the care that they need. And if they are not able to provide that specific area of care, they feel so good when they can connect them with somebody who they know and trust that offers that aspect of care. It feels really, really good. It feels like a relief, honestly. We're all in this to create a better experience for people as they heal. And we shouldn't feel like we have to do it all. So to be able to connect and have a group that's all holding a family together just feels joyful. It just feels like it has just like a family feeling to it that is exactly what we want, especially in this age where we're all very isolated in some ways, you know. I think that's, I'm curious too about um, how it is where you live. I know in the United States, especially, um, in this day and age, people generally live far from their families. They may not have a group of friends that, have the bandwidth or have the awareness to gather around and provide those helping hands. And so, in essence, I feel like that's what you've done in creating this professional group is you've created sort of a family of mothers in a way.
Yeah, I think where we live, we're quite lucky. It seems to be a place that really wants to build community. It's a small, like it's a city, but it's a small city. And there's a lot of, mothers groups and a lot of women's circles and, a lot of mums and bubs groups and things like that. It's really a growing thing in Australia that people are recognising that the need for support because we don't live near our families and that really beautiful support from another woman, that has had her own baby and has that experience and can really hold where you are. It's such a fragile time sometimes that only someone else that's had that experience can really feel into what they're going through. I think and as I say, I've been very lucky because I've met a birth doula and these women get to know both of us. So she, 2 weeks ago had 4 ladies going into labour, all sort of staggered in 1 week. But because they know me as well, they're happy to have me as her backup and things like that. So the women never feel like they're burdening you either. So they do feel like they can ask for help and questions and, they don't ever feel that it's too much for us because we've got that the back of each other and to be able to say, oh, I'm not available, but she is, so that's okay. And I think that helps them in, just being able to ask for help rather than feeling like it's, oh, I rang her yesterday, so I shouldn't really ring again today or things like that. So that's really nice. But I think, Newcastle's sort of a place, I think, that people are wanting a different style of life than Sydney. Sydney's very big and material and a lot about money and things. And a lot of people are coming out of Sydney after COVID and moving here to have a connection and having a smaller, more simpler sort of existence. And, a lot of those people are sort of coming up here to have families and to birth their children in a smaller place. And we're very lucky we have a publicly funded home birth community. So, you can have a home birth that's publicly funded, so no out-of-pocket expenses for the woman, a birth centre that's connected to the hospital but for low-risk women and, no intervention sort of birth centre. So, women have a lot of choices up here, I think, as well, about where to birth. And, there's a lot of home birth going on, which is really beautiful because you see those women that come out of home birth so empowered and so confident in their postpartum, which is really lovely. Yeah.
Oh, it's so true. And it's such a heartening thing to hear that families have that in your area. There's so many places, including all over our country, where um, it's out of pocket to have that experience, and in some states, illegal. So
Yes.
it's really beautiful to hear that, and I can attest to the empowerment in home birth from my own experience too. Um, do you feel as though doing the work that you have done has created healing for yourself through your own not having postpartum care after your children were born? And maybe even going farther back to your own birth, you referenced earlier. Do you feel like there's been healing there?
Oh, absolutely. I feel like every woman I care for, the magic comes back to me all the time, and I feel like that has really healed, that if it was pain or whatever I felt, that isolation or anything, I do feel like that's really come back to me 100-fold. And I really love what I do. I really love giving that care. And I think it's like when you care for your baby and that care is coming back, it's like a cyclical thing that it's not just giving, it's receiving that. So I do definitely feel like that has helped heal those old wounds that were still there. Yes.
Mm, thank you so much. Do you
Mm.
feel like there is one thing that you would recommend to people who are caregivers, whether we're caring for our own children or we're caring for others as part of our profession or our service? What would you recommend or hope for them to feel as cared for as you've been?
Do I think it's the self-care that's a really crucial thing. And I don't think I used to do that very well, but that's something that I've been really conscious of these last couple of years to really bring into my life, to really be, just weaving that into your life makes you be able to care for someone so much more. That 10 minutes of yoga that I really carve out every morning, even if we're late for school or anything, I feel like a changed person. And it's only 10 minutes, but I really feel like those little things, or, making sure I, put my beautiful cream on my face in the morning and taking that time, it's sort of like that slowing down with yourself can change your whole day. I really feel, you have much more in you to give when you're giving to yourself as well. And it's so simple, like just little simple things that you do for yourself. Like yesterday, I sat there and after my kids had gone to school, and I just sat with a cup of tea for 10 minutes, and that changed my whole day. Before that, I was sort of feeling all discombobulated about things, and then I just sat, and that 10 minutes made me feel so different. That, if you can give yourself those little things each day, just little things that you really like to do for yourself, I feel like you're a much better caregiver than rather than feeling like you have to be giving all the time. Yeah.
I really feel that. And I think that I've gotten better at that over the years
Mm-hmm.
also. And there's almost that little piece of, yeah, it can just be something that you're doing, but with the mindset of, I'm doing this for me and I love myself and I want myself to feel good. So just that awareness rather than kind of brushing over it like it's nothing. It's like
Yeah.
almost just acknowledging it creates the magic of the care.
Absolutely, like the bringing the sacred into that everyday thing that you're doing, and the intention of what you're doing changes. It's amazing.
Mm, thank you so much, Joanne. I've loved connecting with you through this work and again here through this conversation. So I am going to share more about Joanne in the show notes for all of you to look back and see what she's doing and what she's up to and connect with her and follow her. But you give so much goodness to your community and to this world through all of the care you bring. And I honor you deeply for that. And I'm so grateful to be connected.
Thank you, Christine. It's been lovely to be here, and the stuff you're doing is so amazing for the whole world. I know you've got people all over the world doing your course, and I think that's just so amazing and important, and such a rich and fulfilling course. I feel like in such a short time, my caregiving has become so much deeper through what you're teaching. So I really thank you for that as well.
Oh my goodness, it's my deepest honor. It truly, truly is. I love it every day. Kind of like how you were describing, like, I love my work. I do too. I feel that right with
Yeah.
you. So thank you for being part of it. And we'll see you all on the next episode. Thank you, Joanne.
Thanks, Christine.
Shanti, Shanti.
The Sacred Window podcast is brought to you by the Center for Sacred Window Studies. You can visit us to find out more about our online training and mentoring programs, plus resources and products for and about the sacred postpartum window at www.sacredwindowstudies.com. And our music is written and performed by Sarah Emmett. You can hear more of Sarah's music by visiting www.sarahemmett.bandcamp.com.